Today we'll discuss about the sixth chakra, my dear friends. I hope every one of you are following my the book reading session, Anatomy of the Spirit. If not, it is also available on YouTube. The playlists are there, and you can see. And just to brief a bit, so Carolyn is a healer, and she's the one. Carolyn Miss is the one who wrote this book. And she was a journalist, and she got the impressions that it is not her path, and she started to do this healing. And over the years of doing healing, she understood that she should not heal a person, rather a person, she has to teach a person in order to heal themselves. That where this entire thought came, and she wrote this book with all the principles and techniques and so on. So now we are in the sixth chakra. So as every one of you knows that she has combined the three traditions, the chakras, the Christian sacraments, and the sephiroths. So now we go to the introduction part. Okay. Yeah. So what this chakra involves, this sixth chakra involves our mental and reasoning abilities and also our psychological skill. So it evaluates our beliefs and attitudes. So we all know that sixth chakra is also called as third eye, and it is the spiritual center in which the interaction of mind and psyche can lead to intuitive sight and wisdom. So that is why this chakra is for wisdom. This is the chakra of wisdom. And the challenges of the sixth chakra are opening the mind and developing an impersonal mind, that is retrieving one's power from artificial and false truth, which is also like learning to act an internal direction and discriminating between thoughts motivated by strength. And so where is this location? It is in the center of the forehead. And there is always an energy connection to one is to the physical body and one is to the mental body. So if it is physical body, the connection is to brain and neurological system, pituitary and pineal glands, as well as eyes, ears, and nose. And emotional body here links us to our mental body. And what it says, like, which means our intelligence and psychological characteristics. This is where it links us. And our psychological characteristics are a combination of what we know and what we believe to be true. And the next thing is we have a symbolic connection. And here, this chakra activates the lessons that leads us to wisdom. So the first thing that we also do in this thing is like we have to apply, when we gain the symbolic sight, we have to apply detachment. This is the first lesson that we also learn when we are in this chakra. And applying detachment means it is also a state of mind which is beyond the influences of the personal mind or the beginner's mind, let's say. So this is where it is. And then we see the connections now of the sephiroths and the sacraments. So here, as every one of you have seen the previous picture, here we have two sephiroths. So the first one is Bina, and it means like divine understanding. And the second one is Hokma, which means like divine wisdom. So these are the ones which is representing in this chakra. For example, Bina is the womb of the divine mother, whereas Hukma is identified as the beginning. So the unity of these two forces create a lower Sephiroth and are also a symbolic site, which says thought comes before form. Once again, friends, these two Sephiroth says thought comes before form. And that creation begins is the energy dimension. And what is the sacrament here? The sacrament is ordination. So this here, what the thing is, it represents the task that one is called to do in service to others, which means it is also a recognition from others that you have unique insight and wisdom that lead you to help others, like as a mother, as a healer, teacher, or a loyal friend, or even athlete, like whatever you teach, it is also a service. That is what she meant here. That is the actual sacrament of ordination. And also ordination, sorry friends, please be on mute. Yeah. So, and the primary fears is unwillingness to look within. So when we have a fear in this chakra, we do not tend to look within ourselves, and we do not even try to come out of the situations, like, which means we are sometimes clouded with some reasons that we give to ourselves, or fear of sound, like realistic judgment. We don't accept such kind of even realistic judgments. So those are the fears. And also the strengths is the intellectual abilities and skills, and also the emotional intelligence. And the sacred truth is seek only the truth. So in order to seek the truth, we first have to detach ourselves from the subjective perceptions and see only the truth of the symbolic meaning in that situation. So now we see applying detachment. So how does one apply detachment to one's life? And we see here with some form of stories. The thing is, there was a husband and wife, and the wife has cheated the husband. And they got married at the age of 18. And after being in a, and the lady got, like, the couple had 4 children as well. And the lady has cheated the husband after 25 years of her married life. And the husband got devastated, and he came to a counseling under Carolyn Miss. And Carolyn have read this reading about the lady and also about the person, and she understood that she, without even liking the marriage, she got married, and from that time she was completely occupied with her responsibilities, also with her kids, and somewhere she wants to have that freedom. So she only thought, like, um, leaving the person is like freedom. That's what she thought, but that doesn't happen. This kind of cheating happened, is going on. But what the thing here is, the man is suffering and is completely devastated, and Carolyn have said only one thing: detach yourself. And if you detach yourself from the situation, then only he can see the pain also from the lady side. And that's what it happened. Afterwards, they got separated. But the thing is, the liberation that he got from that relation, that is priceless. That is what she was saying. Carolyn have mentioned here. Becoming detached means, like, we get a clarity on the situation. And also here, the thing is, change is constant. It is the truth that we have to accept. Mentally, we can absorb only little things, but when change occurs in our lives, for example, when people we love are passed away, or when we notice that we got aging, or even if our relationships turn awkward, these kind of truths terrorize us, afraid us. So we get scared with all these kind of truths. But we often need years to recover from these changes. Whatever it is, it would remain the same. And we only know that the change is constant, but we can't help hoping that the energy of change will pass by this one part of our lives. Even when change is constant, it feels like an enemy that has swept away our past lives. So the promise, this kind of change is constant, is the new beginnings. And also consciousness is the ability to release the old and embrace the new. with the awareness that all things end at the appropriate time and that all things begin at the appropriate time. And again, here, how you become conscious is that we all know is just to living fully in the present moment. And also our task here is to contribute the best of our energy to every situation with the understanding that we influence but we cannot control. And this is what we'll experience, my dear friends. Even when it comes to job, everything, instead of pain, maybe even I have to apply this kind of detachment technique when situations come. It is easy to say, but it is very difficult to apply. But this is all what we have to do in our every situation of our life. And the next thing is, we see that the consciousness and its connection to healing. So usually what happens is, from the decades, an enormous amount of information has become available on the role of the mind in health. So the thing is, our attitudes play a tremendous role in creating or destroying the health of our bodies. And this is true. And for example, depression, it not only affects our ability to heal, but directly diminishes our immune system. And also anger, bitterness, resentment, all this kind, we also experience all this kind of things in depression stage. And also there is this great power in having a will to heal, and without that personal power, a disease usually stay in the body. So with all the new realizations, the power of consciousness is being given an official plane within the medical model of health and illness. So this is what we everyone have to know, friends. Even in the medical field, power of consciousness is the major thing that triggers the health. Yes. And it's also amazing how many people credit an experience with illness as their motivation for turning their attention inward and taking a close look into their attitudes and lifestyles. And intuitive guidance, for example, if something happening to our body, like if we do not have power in our body, or if something is going to happen, our intuitive guidance always alerts us. And this is where it is like trusting your intuitive abilities. And the next thing is, in order to heal, whenever we get an alert, for example, in order to heal, healing requires the unity of the mind and heart. And generally, it is the mind that needs to be adjusted to our feelings, which too often we have not honored in the daily choices that we have made. And our aspect, once again, of becoming conscious to live is in the present moment. So once again, let me share a story here, friends. So there was a lady called Sylvia. So Sylvia's story portrays this journey into consciousness of both mind and heart. And let us see. So Sylvia was diagnosed with breast cancer and had both her breasts removed. And her cancer has spread to some of her lymph nodes as well. And it would have been natural to think constantly about having cancer. Of course, when something happens, we all think that we have the disease. But what Sylvia here did is, Sylvia detached from having cancer and focused instead upon the stress in her life, which had contaminated her energy. So therefore, she reviewed her fears and the control that they exerted within her psyche, and recognized that she was terrified of being alone. And her cancer have developed shortly after her divorce. It would have been natural for her to focus on being alone and on her bitterness about her divorce, but instead, Sylvia made a commitment to find something of value each day of her life. So she resolved not to dwell on yesterday, but to appreciate all the good things that had happened to her and release her painful experiences, including her divorce. So she frequently felt sadness over her situation, but instead of living in that sadness, she would cry it out, and then move on. So sometimes when you feel pain, crying out loud is also the most important thing. And then you have to move on because you do not linger in that pain anymore. And Sylvia later became involved in supporting other people recovering from cancer. And from a symbolic perspective, she became ordained. That is, the power she brought to others was returned to her through the recognition and gratitude of those she helped. And within 6 months, her system was cancer free. And our aspect of becoming conscious again here is to live in present moment and appreciate each and everything each day. So Sylvia was able to detach from her past and create a new life that had meaning and purpose. And this complete about the Sylvia story is the definition of becoming impersonal about a crisis in one's personal life. And now we will see about the consciousness and death. So like also how we have to die consciously. This we will know in the next slide. So usually when it comes to consciousness and death, many people have the belief that, for example, if our physical body, like if we are going through some health problem, or if we are not cured, we think death, somebody's body does not heal from an illness. And people may sometimes inaccurately conclude that the individual simply didn't try hard enough, that they were unable to cope up. But the thing is not that. Healing also will happen energetically on the other side as well. So, and this is not a failure of the people or the person who were existing in their physical body. It's not a failure at all. It's just that they were shifting their consciousness to the another self. And death is not a failure to heal. And death is an inevitable part of life. And the fact here is that many people do not heal themselves of their emotional and psychological torments, and thus they die healed. So let us see here about Jackson's story. Let me give it very short. So he is having a malignant brain tumor, and his pain was so intense. So during that time, Jackson have contacted Caroline for a reading, and then they were discussing about all the unfinished businesses that he needs to close, like on a psychological level, or like whatever unfinished business, even if he was unable to say sorry to another person. So what the thing he did is he started to jot down all the things, all the unfinished business in his life, and he started to close one by one with his level of consciousness. He even thought of like thank you notes he should have sent. So Jackson focused on completion, but his emphasis with this emphasis, like he was not completing his life, he was completing his unfinished business with his level of consciousness again. So he asked continuously, what am I expected to learn in this life? So each time an insight or an answer came to him, and according to that he acted on it. For example, like he explained that his former wife, why he had wanted a divorce. Like for example, he didn't give an answer to his ex-wife, and he just divorced it. And the thing is, he liked such kind of impression, like not giving clarity to people whom, so in that state, he gained the power, in the sense like the opposite person will be continuously thinking of him and so on, like that. So this kind of situation had made him feel more important. And now he chose clarity, and he even wrote a letter to his ex-wife apologizing, and so that's how he like closed uh, his unfinished business energetically and also on the physical plane. And he believed now that he have completed his life lessons, and then slowly he passed away. But it's not the brain tumor. The thing is, even if he got such brain tumor, he know that he will go away one day, and he acted on the unfinished business. That is the lesson we all have to learn here. And also the goal of becoming conscious is to be able to handle all changes in our lives, in our bodies, without any fear, and also looking only to absorb the message of truth that contained in the change. We all will be resisting like why this change is happening, but if we understand the truth that happened to us in that change, then that will be sufficient. And what means becoming conscious? Becoming conscious means having the mastery of the spirit. So mastery of the physical is not the goal of becoming conscious, but mastery of the spirit is the goal. And the physical world and the physical body serves as the teachers along the way. So that is why we are on this planet in the physical body. And the next, we'll see about the Scott and Helen Nearing. This is again one more interesting story, my dear friends, where Carolyn have given. So Scott and Helen Nearing are known for their contributions to the environmental movement and also for promoting a lifestyle of self-sufficiency. And they built also their home by their hand, and they lived with the fruits and vegetables they grew themselves. So that was the life that they have lived. And throughout their journey, they also have many of the controversial situations in their community because they stick to their truth. And here we see Scott passed away in early 1980s at the age of 100. So how he welcomed death gracefully is one thing which I'll explain here. So the thing is, like, they were almost living a very good and healthy life. And one day Scott came into his house carrying wood, and he announced to his wife, Helen, saying that it is the time for him to leave the body. And how he have chosen to leave the body is to not eat food. And he also said that he is no longer able to do his task and carry out his own responsibilities. So he was aware, like deep within himself, that it was time for him to die. And for 3 weeks, Helen stayed by his side while he was on bed, abstaining from food. And even Helen did not offer any food, or she didn't even attempted to try to change his mind, because she is the first person to understood the depth to which Scott has made his choice. And Scott Nearing passed away within 3 weeks of deciding to die because of his inability to live self-sufficiently. And then, so what did Helen said is, Helen also intended to do the same. And she said, dying is nothing to fear. You simply embrace your time to live, and you cooperate with it by not eating. All that they were doing is that they were leaving a body, that it's not a big deal. I know this is also a controversial subject even for them, But here we only need to choose like how they have gracefully welcomed the death. And after some time, Helen also passed away in 1995 with a heart attack while she was driving. So she had told to Carolyn that she would leave this life upon completing her next book. And that is what she exactly did. So we need to complete all our unfinished businesses. So please try to start writing what are your unfinished business, my dear friends. And it's not about that we wait until death. We do this kind of process each and every day, so that even this moment we do not have any sort of unfinished business on ourselves, like within us. And now we will see about a story of a Tibetan yogi who passed away consciously. So we'll see about Sogyal Rinpoche. Sogyal Rinpoche, sorry to ask, I hope every one of you are able to see my screen, right? Can any one of you confirm by raising your hand, friends? After one slide, I was asking this question. Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So there was a Tibetan monk called Sogyal Rinpoche. He's a noted teacher and author of the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. So he has earned a worldwide reputation for himself as the laughing Rinpoche because his personality sparkles with humor. So yes, Carolyn have met this Sogyal in Paris in 1984. And she thought that, many Tibetan masters have transcended the ordinary laws of the time and space. So that is what she thought. And also that Carolyn have read, like whatever a Tibetan master is directly asked directly about his power, he will always deflect any interest in himself, preferring to talk about some other evolved master. So there had a conversation between Sogyal and Carolyn. Carolyn is the author of this book, and that is what I'm reading now, Anatomy of the Spirit. So Carolyn started to ask like some sort of questions. For example, what are their meditative practices? How can they run at unusually fast speed and so on? And finally, when Carolyn said that there are no questions, Sogyal started to explain a story about his master, that about his master's conscious death. Like how, so the first thing is, he called his astrologers together and told him to cast a chart for him. So noting the perfect time to withdraw his spirit from the energies of earth. And his spirit was extremely, extremely powerful. And he wanted to leave without causing any type of energy consequence. So we may not be aware of such things, but when any spirit, any powerful spirit leaves the earth, the entire energy field is influenced. And when a powerful spirit leaves, the influence upon the earth is even more dramatic. So his astrologist finally fixed a perfect moment, and he released his spirit from his body at that time. So before even releasing, he just blessed, he meditated with his students on the day, blessed them, and then shut his eyes and released his spirit from his body. So this is the lesson. It's not only this Tibetan master, my dear friends. If any one of you have read the book written by Yogananda Paramahamsa, Autobiography of Yogi, you can also know that even this master has released the body consciously. And also Yogananda's Guruji, I don't know his name, and sorry, and even his Guruji, Lahiri Mahasaya, everyone, Lahiri's Mahasaya Guruji is again Babaji. So all these Gurujis left their body very much consciously. So this is what we all have to learn. So the conscious mind is able to release the spirit from the body without having to endure pain. So this means like they don't have any illness, or they don't, yes, yeah, Yukteswar Giri, sorry. Yogananda's Guruji is Yukteswar Giri and his Guruji is Lahiri Mahasaya. So they all have left the body consciously. So this does not mean they have illness and that they have passed away, but that's not the fact. So when someone attains the conscious mind, you know, we are all, the choice is available for everyone. We all can do such kind of practice. We don't need to suffer with the physical problem. We don't need to suffer with pain. But the thing is, these are the people who attain divinity. Like whatever action they do, they leave the body or they do some action whenever they feel that is correct, which means they are continuously in notion with the divine form. So that is how the choices were made and the abilities that we always have. So one should not be afraid of death. This is what we need to understand, my dear friends. We have discussed what's the power of the mind, what are the things that the mind can do, and what is the difference between the consciousness and death, and how consciousness is also connected to the healing, and also how the Tibetan people have left their body like very consciously, and that's what the video is related. So now let us have a look into here. So previously, yes, we have discussed about the Sogyal Rinpoche in the consciousness and death chapter. And now, sorry, we'll start with the Sogyal Rinpoche as well, continuing from the previous session. So the Nearing and the Sogyal Rinpoche, so these people have tapped into the power of the impersonal mind, and that's how they have developed this kind of conscious state. And describing consciousness on paper has the limitations, but we all think like consciousness is so easy, like it is, we just need to connect. But in practical, we really need to have that intention that we have to be conscious. And so the thing here is, for example, we will be having so many questions which are deep and penetrating, like what is the purpose of the life? What is the truth of eternal life? So what we also have to observe is not the quality of our responses that we need to observe, but how we have attached to the answers, or how our thoughts are when we think of such kind of questions. That is where it comes. So we have to be detached even of our responses. So if anyone thinks that they are attached, then we are also not connected properly, will not get the proper answers for these kind of questions. And the truth, for example, is the truth itself. And so to seek the truth, so we have to get detached from its cultural form. And that is the groundwork for anyone to gain the symbolic sight. And let us see some of the principles. And here, developing also this impersonal mind is also a lifetime task. And we have to keep also facing our illusions and fears, because very deeply we'll be having fears in the form of layers. Like we do not also know how many layers of fears we are having within ourselves. So we have to face all those kind of fears and challenges, and also we have to be ready for the changes that are happening. And with all that matters of the spirit, so once we start along the path, there should be no turning back. So these are the following instructions which I am going to say, my dear friends. The first one is develop a practice of introspection and work to become conscious of what you believe and why. Work to become conscious of what you believe and why. And next one, so keep an open mind and learn to become aware when your mind is shutting down. So this is the second principle. And the third one is interpret all situations and relationships. So these are also the ones which are interlinked with the symbolic importance as well. So even if we cannot immediately understand what it is, still keep interpreting all the situations and relationships. Become open to receiving guidance and insight through your dreams. Our dreams say a lot to us. So we have to observe even our dreams, what messages we are getting, or what are the challenges that we are even facing in the dreams. And work toward releasing any sort of negative thoughts. Any thoughts that promote self-pity or anger or for example, that blame another person for anything that has happened, any sort of things, we have to release them. In order to release them, we have to practice detachment. So make decisions based upon the wisest assessment you can do in the immediate moment, rather than working to create a specific outcome. And next, refrain from all the judgments, not just in regards with the people or the situation, but also those that concern the importance of the task as well. Even how big the task is, how small, what am I going to do, supposed to do in the next moment. Even such kind of judgments, remove all such kind of things. And remind yourself continuously of the higher truth that you cannot possibly see all the situations or the details, sorry, all the facts or details of any situation. So we know we can do only what we are able to do. And work through the challenges that life brings you. Learn to also recognize when you are being influenced by the fear pattern and immediately detached from that fear by observing its influence on your mind and emotions. So then we can also influence such kind of fears, and then we can work through the challenges that the life brings us. And always act on your inner guidance and give up your need for proof that your inner guidance is authentic. So you do not need any sort of proof. The more you ask for proof, the less likely you are to receive any. So refrain all those things and just trust your inner self. And keep all your attention in the present moment. Refrain from living in the past or worrying about the future. Learn to trust what you cannot see far more than what you can see. So these are some of the principles of how we can develop the impersonal mind and the symbolic sight, my dear friends. So let us do. I know many of us are already have implemented these kind of uh, principles in our lives, and still we keep on listening, and slowly we also imbibe all these principles in our life and we act accordingly. And finally, here what I have to say is, don't eat junk food, and similarly don't think junk thoughts. So we have to cut down all the junk thoughts and have to become conscious. So there is nothing easy about becoming conscious. So the only way here is to just let go. The let go of how you thought your life should be, and embrace the life that is trying to work its way into your consciousness. Many of the people, we find our ways that we struggle ourselves in a confusing state. So a part of each of us is also eager to allow the divine will to direct our lives, yet we remain also tormented by the fear, and we should also leave our comfort zone, and we have to surrender to our will. And then we'll just be more and more conscious day by day. So the more positive options we think mentally, the more positive action we'll be taking, and then the better we'll be feeling. So that is the thing, my dear friends. And also the journey toward becoming conscious is often more attractive in theory than in practice. And pursuing also consciousness theoretically through books and conversations allow us to fantasize about getting to the land without actually having to make any changes in our lives. But then here we also need to bring such sort of changes into our lives, because our minds also are overloaded with lots and lots of information. And as the day comes when we no longer straddle between this kind of perception, so with lots and lots of information going on, somewhere we do not think of ourselves. But the thing is, like, we have to keep thinking of how to let go of the situations, of the patterns, or of the beliefs that we already have in the life, or the rules that we have kept to ourselves. So this is how we become conscious of letting go in a simple way. And letting go is means like also changing the rules here by which we live and the beliefs that we maintain. So that's it in short, my dear friends. With this, we also have finished the sixth chakra, and there are several questions for the self-examination. So even upon finishing the seventh chakra, I'll post all these questions in every chapter in our group. So keep on asking yourself, like, what beliefs do you have that cause you to interpret the actions of others in a negative way? So just write down the questions, and for now these are also available in YouTube recordings as well. So we can keep watching, and we can keep questioning ourselves and write down the answers, and we know about ourselves. So these are some of the um, about the consciousness and about the principles that we have discussed about to gain the impersonal mind, and how we have to gain the symbolic sight, my dear friends. And coming back, we'll watch once again the YouTube of the Tibetan monk who have left his body consciously. So I'll just be on mute. I'll just be saying, because the previous chapter was describing about the consciousness and the death. And here we have discussed about how consciously the Tibetan monks will be leaving the body. So when the monks are leaving the body, what happens is there will be a huge energy field which will be distracted. So in their culture, some priests will be gathering and they will be fixing their time. So at that time, the priest or the monk will do meditation along with his students, and then he passes away. So this video is exactly related to that, and which we can see. So which I have just showed it previously as well. And even if you type this in YouTube, you'll get so many of the videos of number of monks. So why we are discussing this is, like Carolyn has said in this book, that every one of us possess these qualities. We do not need to die with pain or with agony, nothing. We also can leave the body as we can decide ourselves. And these are all the natural capabilities that every one of us have. So that's what Carolyn have been describing, and that is why we are watching this video. It's not just the monks, but every one of us have naturally, and it's just that we forget in the tribal culture itself, in the first chakra itself, where we get more attached in our societies, our beliefs, and we forget our capabilities. We are infinite beings. That's what it shows. So they were just being calm near the monk. And I'm just skipping the video because everything is just the same. Yes. Now he slowly have left the body. See how his fingers are also like his hand. Yeah. Now he left the body. Yes, my dear friends. So this is it. This is what we have discussed. So in order to gain this impersonal mind and even to go to this state, these are the techniques that we have discussed today to practice the detachment principle and all these kind of principles and how we have to work through ourselves. So these are some of the things that we have discussed, my dear friends, and thank you all for listening.